Hello, my health conscious friends. Today we're talking mushrooms. Not the psychedelic kind, but for dietary and for therapeutic use. For those of you unfamiliar, you may have begun seeing talk about mushrooms as added to alternative coffee. You may have seen mushrooms spoken about with immune support, as anti-cancer support. You may have seen it for its benefits on blood pressure and lowering cholesterol levels. You might be seeing it in smoothie beverage powders, and superfood powders for everyday use. You may have even heard a little bit more about certain mushrooms such as lion's mane, which is popular for brain function, but lion's mane is not the only mushroom that helps with brain function. You may have also heard about mushrooms for their antiviral properties, for their antibacterial properties, and if you've been reading a little bit deeper, then you probably know they are very high or rich in vitamin D. Now, not all mushrooms are as high in vitamin D content. We really look for mushrooms that are exposed to daylight or exposed to ultraviolet light. That helps to produce and concentrate vitamin D in the mushrooms. Let's begin with the different ways that we consume mushrooms. We can consume mushrooms in our food through our diet. We cook them, we often saute them. I would like to show you a few varieties today that you may see on supermarket shelves, and this way you become familiar with mushrooms beyond white button mushrooms. Those are the most common that you've probably seen through the years, but we have a growing popularity in more exotic varieties. So I'd like to show you a few of them. One which you might have seen are oyster mushrooms, and they have a very pretty flute-like shape. We have king mushrooms here. They come in all sizes. These are baby king mushrooms. We also have what are known as seafood mushrooms. Sometimes you might see them also known as beach mushrooms. Let me show you what they look like here. So beach mushrooms come in a bundle and you break them apart, and you might recognize them in your diet. In Asian foods, they use these quite often. Moving into some of the different mushrooms you may not have seen before, these are wood ear mushrooms. And I don't know if my camera is focusing on these quite well, but let's look at the ones you might have recognized on a medicinal level. We'll begin with shiitake. See if you can make that out. These are shiitake mushrooms, and these are maitake mushrooms. They're falling apart here. They're very fragile. They break apart quite easily. See if you can make that out. Okay. So these are mushrooms that you will see in the supermarket for food intake. Now, when we talk about concentrates, these mushrooms can be powdered down. What does that mean? That means they're dried and then pulverized. But when you take the water out of a plant and you dry it and powder it, you're able to consume more of that food than if you left the water in. So when we talk about foods and plants at concentrate, it begins when you dry it out. and powder it, because you're able to consume more of it mixed into water, juice, smoothies, that sort of preparation. Mushrooms contain a component called adenosine. Now, for those of you in the fitness world, you may recognize adenosine triphosphate, also known as ATP, which is your energy production molecule. The body separates adenosine triphosphate into adenosine diphosphate, and that conversion releases energy. So you may be familiar with these terms from fitness videos and perhaps fitness supplementation, which we obviously will speak more about in future videos. Adenosine also works to prevent the stickiness of platelets. So adenosine helps prevent blood clotting. And we're going to speak about blood clotting in a little bit further on in today's video. There are immune benefits to the use of mushrooms. It helps to stimulate the immune system. So for people with chronic fatigue, with HIV, with anything that compromises or subdues the immune system, mushrooms can help to offset those effects. Along the lines of immune support, mushrooms have been attributing their benefits toward protecting the body during chemotherapy. So it is quite a therapeutic food, it is a nourishing food, and it has many, many healthy properties. Now let's move into my safety first section of today's video, and we'll start with my last topic on blood clotting. Now remember, if you're just eating mushrooms in your diet, is typically not anything to be concerned about. However, when you're taking these smoothie powders or mushroom coffees on the regular, if you're taking something every day at concentrate, we have a few concerns that you need to be aware of. So going back to what I mentioned with blood clotting, if you are preparing for surgery, whether it is elective or urgent or required surgery, doctors will often recommend you discontinue certain herbal preparations. And you may not be aware that mushrooms at high concentration could be a part of excessive clotting time. So it takes longer for the blood to clot. And so if your surgeon or your doctor is recommending that you discontinue certain plants like ginkgo biloba or any of the ginseng family plants or turmeric because of their blood thinning activities, you will want to pause or suspend the intake of powdered mushroom preparations at least 2 weeks prior to surgery. If you've been taking them for a very long time, you may need to discontinue them for a longer period prior to surgery. The second concern with taking mushrooms in a concentrated form on a daily basis are people with autoimmune function conditions. And by that we mean people with an already overstimulated immune system. Since mushrooms can stimulate immune activity, it may be appropriate for conditions with an underactive immune system. So for people with chronic fatigue or HIV, their immune systems are not functioning at an optimal level, they may benefit from mushrooms at a concentrated level. However, if you have an autoimmune condition where the body is attacking its own healthy tissue, it means that it's functioning at an excessive level. And so while you can consume mushrooms through your diet, you really need to be mindful about mushroom concentrates and how much of it you're taking. So I'm not saying it's a no, I'm saying it is a be mindful of. Because of the adenosine content, there is a concern with high concentrates of mushrooms and certain prescription medications. There could be some interaction, and so you really need to speak with your prescribing physician and ask about the use of supplements, whether they are fitness supplements or concentrated amounts of mushroom concentrate. You really need to find out if high levels of adenosine intake is contraindicated or unsafe with your current medications. And lastly, I wanted to bring your attention to one mushroom in particular. It finds its way into most of the daily mushroom concentrate powders, and I have seen it with individuals that have come through my practice, and that mushroom is reishi mushroom. Now, we know that it has wonderful attributes: antimicrobial, antiviral, antibacterial. It's helpful with the blood pressure. It is helpful with the cholesterol. It is helpful with an underactive immune system. It has a wide range of uses. However, there is one caveat to that, and that is reishi mushroom, when taken longer than 2 weeks on a daily basis at concentrate, remember, at concentrate, it does have an influence over liver enzymes. And I have seen blood chemistries where liver enzymes were notably elevated because they were taking powders containing mushrooms on a daily basis. Some of these individuals, we see them taking a morning formula and an evening formula, one to help stimulate brain activity and then another to help with sleep regulation. When you're taking something at concentrate, you're consuming more than you would if you were to have it in your vegetable saute or in a soup. You're certainly only consuming perhaps a handful of mushrooms in a serving. However, when you dry it and you powder it or you make a fluid extract out of it, it has a high concentration. And when you take that on the daily, you can have the alternate effect of raising your liver enzymes. And what we need to do from there is obviously to suspend all intake and support the body's liver function to help clear the excessive intake. So just because something is healthy and some amount of it is good, that doesn't mean that a lot of it or a frequent use of it is better. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware, because reishi mushroom seems to find its way into most of the mushroom products that I have seen on retail shelves and online order businesses. So please, as I always say, read your labels. One more note on reishi mushroom. Now, we can't know whether your liver enzymes are currently normal unless you have a blood work panel from your physician. So what I would recommend that you do is, if you are uncertain, see your doctor and get a full blood workup. please request that they look at a complete metabolic panel, which will explore the liver enzymes. And if you are in normal range, I would recommend that you keep your reishi mushroom containing products to a maximum of 2 weeks daily use. And then you need to take a break. So if you like mushroom powdered products, I suggest that you read your labels and find certain blends without reishi mushrooms, so you have something that you can go to where you're taking a break from reishi mushroom intake. Again, no more than 2 weeks at a time of consistent daily intake at concentrate. So again, that's not diet. That is when you're taking it in a powdered product. You need to take a break. So I hope you found that bit helpful and to keep you and your liver safe. If you've made it this far into the video, I appreciate your joining me today, for following my channel. And if you are not familiar with who I am, my name is Tammy. I am a medical herbalist physiologist with over 30 years of experience in the health and wellness field. On a clinical basis, I have been in practice for over 25 years, and I have international training with a specialty in hormonal and metabolic support through plant medicines. We customize that for the individual. So in these videos, I appreciate your patience where I can't address all conditions. I just want to focus these features on safety first, because there are beautiful profiles of many plants and foods, and I encourage you to read and educate, and knowledge is power. But sometimes we are enthralled with product marketing, and not every supplement is safe for every individual, and you really need to consider your own medical history when taking any kind of food at concentrate or medicinal plant at concentrate. If you liked this video and want to see more of them, I encourage you to follow me on my YouTube channel. I also encourage you to visit my website. I have it listed in my bio and on the info page on the YouTube channel for my blog. And I look forward to joining you again. If you have anything specific you would like to cover in these short pieces, please do let me know by commenting in the comment boxes below. Bye for now.